Recording in progress. Huge honor. Millions applied for this honor, and only one person remained at the end of the Battle Royale. And this is my favorite of 4 workshops on screenwriting and filmmaking, but primarily how to write a great movie. And this is my favorite of the 4 workshops: how to write a killer opening scene. Now, here's a picture of me pretending to read my own screenplay. The previous picture is a picture of me pretending to watch a movie and pretend to eat really, really terrible popcorn. That picture is when I was the writer in residence at the Vancouver Public Library. And you might think, oh, this guy just lives in libraries. That's all he does. But I was a screenwriting instructor and a film instructor at the Vancouver Film School for 6 years. I've made a dozen short films. I've been a writer on 20 TV shows. Most importantly, I'm, like you, a huge, massive fan of movies and TV shows. And tonight, I'm going to show you clips from about 60 films and TV shows. There's a lot to cover. And I think maybe my greatest point tonight that I wanted to share is, I was talking with a festival programmer, a film festival programmer, who had seen literally thousands and thousands of films over the years, primarily short films, but often feature films as well. And they told me, they said, of all the thousands of films they've seen, only one could not have been shorter. Only one was the perfect short length. And I want you to think about that as you're writing your screenplay, and whether you're going to write it to direct it yourself, or you're writing it to pitch it to an agent or a production company. There's always a way you can get into the action faster and get people into your story and consumed by your storytelling ability sooner. I'm a prime example. A 2-hour workshop, what the hell? We could probably do this in 90 minutes, right? But I'm just really keen on the subject. I love studying the openings of films, trying to crack the code of what makes a great film opening. And tonight, I think, first of all, let's talk about what a film is. Basically, great movie scripts are made up of about 40 pivotal scenes or moments. These are eureka moments and really visual moments where characters, often through their own actions, cause something big, beautiful, or terrible to happen. And there's never been more pressure on you to speed up the opening of your story, because we are all experts on the start of a TV show and the start of films. We all sit on our couch with our wife, husband, loved one, kids, and we've got the remote control in our hand, and people have been arguing over what to watch, debating over what to watch. And we've all got that remote just hovering in midair, wondering if we should give some new show a chance, even an episode of something that we already like. We're still like, let's give it 5 minutes and see if we like it. Netflix, Prime, Crave, Disney Plus, everyone is sitting on their couches with remotes in hand, hovering over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of movies. So let's just say your film gets made, your film gets bought, or you produce it yourself. Now you're competing in that huge pool. How is your film going to grab audiences from the first shots and scenes? How are you going to stand out from the pile of screenplays that I once saw when I had an agent at William Morris in Los Angeles? My agent, he was a bit of a jerk, really. He took my friend and I, my co-writer, into his office, and he was like looking for our screenplay that he was praising us to our faces. And he was digging through a stack of scripts half as tall as he was. And he was like going through these pile of scripts going, this is garbage, this is garbage. And he grabs my script out and he goes, yeah, this is really good. Like, that's what you're competing with. And you've got to ask yourself, how will my film make everyone put the remote control down and keep watching? And tonight, let's talk about it. There's 4 key ways I think that you can strengthen the opening of your script, whether it's a TV script or a feature script. Number 1, first shots, introduce your characters with powerful symbolism. Number 2, introduce your protagonist as soon as possible. 3, establish the genre and tone, the type of story and world that you're telling. Number 4, start working conflict in as quickly as you can. So let's get to the first shots, powerful symbolism. No, yeah, there's pressure. You know, your opening has to accomplish a lot. You have to build the world of your characters, introduce the protagonist and their people, introduce the antagonist and maybe their hench people. Tell us the genre, or show us the genre, whether it's a crime film or a romantic comedy or coming of age. You've got to let the audience know what they're about to consume. You want to set the tone of your story. Is it a black comedy, or is it a whimsical comedy? Is it a dry comedy? And you want to show how the protagonist thinks and how they have to grow and change. That's a lot of heavy lifting in your first few pages. To help you get started with all that, let's talk about visual symbolism. And it really comes right down to the first shots of your story. You want to speed up the start of your script and make every moment count. Write a killer opening scene that starts with a killer opening visual. Many scripts that I read, the first few pages, they read like a novel. And maybe your script is the same. And certainly I've been there as well too. You just fall in love with describing what people are wearing or what the weather is. Or just, you want to describe the beauty of the landscape. And you want to, maybe you've told yourself and you're telling people that are about to read your script that your script or your story is a slow burn. Okay, I get that. But if all I see, let's just say I'm an agent's assistant, if all I see is this wall of text on a screenplay, it's no longer a script to me. That's a novel. And frankly, that's not respecting the tradition of visual storytelling that has made all of our great films and TV shows. So you want to capture people's attention from the first frame and open your film with an image that reveals your protagonist's strengths, and goals, and obstacles, whether they realize it or not. And I highly recommend you start your script in the middle of some action. In medias res is what it's called. Don't start with them sleeping in a bed. Like every single student script I read, they always started with a student like reaching for the alarm clock in the morning. Start with a symbolic item, whether it's, don't think about, I'm sorry, I've written this down wrong. It's not Breakup Bad, it's Breaking Bad. The pilot for Breaking Bad, if you remember, it's one of the best pilots ever written. It opens with a soaring pair of ugly chino pants through the air in this blue sky in the New Mexico desert. And those ugly pants soaring are symbolic of the lead character, Walter White, because he's going very shortly, we're going to see him sort of tumbling and falling as he adapts to the life. He's sort of a mild-mannered chemistry teacher in high school, discovers he's got cancer. He's not going to live long, and so he wants to make a ton of money to make sure that his family is okay. So that is, in a second, you are capturing whether the audience realizes it or not. You can capture it in a symbolic visual, and then start them in the middle of action that reveals who they are and the crisis they're about to face. So, sorry, I'm making my own mistake of talking and not showing. Let's look at movies and TV shows that did all of that and slayed their opening shots. So I want to show you Fleabag. I don't know if any of you have seen Fleabag. If you haven't seen it yet, highly recommend it. This is how it opens. So I'll pause from time to time. So I'm not sure of the tone of this. There's no music yet telling me whether this is a horror film. She looks concerned. She's staring at something. We don't know what. She's near her front door. She's either going to let something in or she's going to try and keep something out. So let's keep watching to see why the suspense is here. What is on the other side of that door? I love that she's talking to us. So she's breaking the fourth wall like Ferris Bueller. It's rare when it does happen. It's kind of beautiful and special. Later, I'll talk about why I think she's talking directly to us, but she's basically drawing us into her world. And she's explaining that she is just pretending to have just come home from the clubs when really she was in bed, and now there's this hot guy, and let's just see what happens.
There's no audio.
There's no audio. That is a great shame because this is a very well-written script. Kelly, if you're with me.
Yep, I'm with you.
Had this same problem last week. Oh, sorry about that. The scene I didn't want to show you. So if there's no audio, is that on my end?
I think that's with the PowerPoint because we can hear you fine.
Okay, so this is a YouTube clip that I'm playing, and it worked fine last week. Well, let's go into audio settings. You know what? Tell you what. Let's get rid of my headphones. Let's go with the Mac Pro speaker. So since you can hear me fine, that's what we'll do. So I believe it's the headphones.
All right.
Thank you for your patience. Okay, so. There we go. It wants to play for you. Oh, sorry about that. Let's go back.
Yeah, I think we can hear it now. Yep.
You know that feeling when a guy like sends you a text at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday night asking if he can come and find you, and you've accidentally made it out like you've just got in yourself, so you have to get out of bed, drink half a bottle of wine, get in the shower, shave everything, dig out some agent provocateur business, suspend about the whole bit, and wait by the door until the buzzer goes. And you open the door to him like you almost forgotten he's coming over. Oh. Hey. 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 And then you get to it immediately.
Love that bit. So the reason why I think that opening really works. So this is Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Fleabag is sort of a take on her name, Phoebe, based on her one-woman stage play. And this character is in the middle of something. We see her panting, is she having a medical problem? Is she having an anxiety attack? Is it a horror film? The twist is she turns, breaks the fourth wall, and talks to us like we're her best friend, and explains that a cute guy texted her when she was just in bed, so she pretended like she just got in from bar hopping. What she's demonstrating to us is that she's an addict waiting for her drug dealer. She's waiting for the man, if you will, and her drug of choice is sex. And my additional theory beyond this, because this sets up the motif of her talking to camera throughout this series, it's a wonderful series, is that my theory is that she's talking to us because we are the ghost of her dead best friend. She's trying to keep us close like she once was close with her best friend. Beautiful start to a show. Now I'd like to show you The Big Lebowski. Perfect example of visual symbolism is how the dude is introduced in this opening shot.
See them tumbling down, pledging their love to their the ground.
Way out west, there was this fella I want to tell you about. Fella by the name of Jeff Lebowski. At least that was the handle his loving parents gave him. But he never had much use for it himself. This Lebowski, he called himself the Dude. Now, Dude.
Well, that's a very powerful technique, by the way, is having one character talking about your lead character before we see them on screen. And so the narrator obviously is setting us up for a Western. This has got to be a old time period piece. We're going to see cowboys soon, right?
Dude, that's a name no one would self-apply where I come from. But then there was a lot about the dude that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And a lot about where he lived, likewise. But then again, maybe that's why I found the place so darn interesting.
Ah, so we see a tumbleweed tumbling along. We hear a song singing about the tumbling tumbleweed. Tumbleweed rolls over the hill and realize, oh, we're in what looks to be modern day or relatively recently modern day Los Angeles. Nice little twist from the Coen brothers who wrote and directed this. So, so the tumbleweed, let's look at this some more.
They call Los Angeles the City of Angels. I didn't find it to be that exactly. But I'll allow there are some nice folks there. Of course, I can't say I've seen London. And I've never been to France. And I ain't never seen no queen in her damn dundies, as the fella says. But I'll tell you what, after seeing Los Angeles...
So what is the tumbleweed? Why the hell would this be in here? And it occurs to me that the tumbleweed represents the dude. He is drifting and tumbling through like along concrete streets. He roams at night when he's stoned. He drifts along the beaches of LA and has for decades. The dude is the tumbleweed.
And this here story I'm about to unfold, I guess I've seen something every bit as stupefying as you'd see in any of those other places. And in English, too. So I can die with a smile on my face without feeling like the good Lord gypped me. Now, this here story I'm about to unfold took place back in the early 90s. Just about the time of our conflict with Saddam and the Iraqis. I only mention it because sometimes there's a man, I won't say a hero, because what's a hero? But sometimes there's a man, and I'm talking about the dude here. Sometimes there's a man, he's the man for his time and place. He fits right in there.
By the way, this is how Jeff Bridges dresses in real life. A lot of these are his clothes. I went to Lebowski Fest in Los Angeles, the fan festival, and Jeff Bridges was the surprise musical guest, and he was rocking out on stage with his band. The crowd went crazy, and I was right down front row as a journalist, and yep, he was wearing those jelly sandals because he owns them. And yeah, this is an interesting way of introducing a character wearing sunglasses at night. He's probably high as balls. He's shopping for food. He looks broke. He's got a terribly, like something, a bathrobe that he dragged out of a dumpster. And watch how he pays for this milk.
And that's the dude in Los Angeles. And even if he's a lazy man, and the dude was most certainly that, quite possibly the laziest in Los Angeles County, which would place him high in the running for laziest worldwide. But sometimes there's a man. Sometimes there's a man. Wow. Lost my train of thought here.
So the narrator loses his train of thought. I think he's getting a contact high from the dude. The dude is so stoned, he's making the narrator stoned and lose track of the story.
But, hell. I done introduced him enough.
With them all for collective action.
I don't know if you saw the date on the check. That was September 11th, foreshadowing 9/11. I don't know what the Coen brothers knew. But then, yeah, we're setting the world here too. So we're introducing the main protagonist. We visually, symbolically introduced him. We've shown his environment. We've shown his attitude. He sort of looks around the store and realizes, hell, I'm going to drink straight out of the milk carton. And now he's watching TV, which gives us a little foreshadowing for the plot later on.
This will not stand. This will not stand, this aggression against Kuwait.
Yeah. And then I'll cut it there, just at the start of the scene. A case of mistaken identity happens just seconds later when bad guys are in his apartment, but just a really, really smart, stylish way. Perhaps confusing at first, but when you break it down, it makes a lot of sense. Game Night. Game Night is a terrific movie. It's a action comedy, romantic comedy, script by Mark Perez. Let me show you how they introduce the characters really, really quickly here. So I am on, well, I'm on Apple TV. That may actually be difficult to get at. So yeah, rather than tell you what, on a break, I will find that clip and we'll talk about that in a second. Let's talk about your script, because I assume that you're working on a script or an idea for something. Let's take the next 4 or 5 minutes, pen and paper in hand or a computer, and I want you to write down ideas for how to introduce your characters in a symbolic way, because I'm guessing if the script's not perfect, it could always improve, right? So tell me, what's the first image that we see in your story? Not what's in your script right now, but what is the best way or a better way or a different way? Maybe you'll find the perfectly magical way to introduce your main character. So what's the first image we see? How does it reveal your character's personality and their situation? What is your character doing in medias res? Like, drop them in the middle of some action. And what's an ironic way to introduce them? Like, maybe they're doing something that they don't even realize, but it ironically reveals them because they're doing the opposite of what they should be doing. Write down 10 possibilities in the next 4 minutes about how to introduce your character visually. And show us something new, something clever. Go. It's 6:06 now. Let's go to 6:10. All right, so we're back. Now I want to show you that clip from game night. And yeah, I'll say no more. We'll just play it. And I don't see anything. Okay, well. All right, figure that out later. Chapter 2 for tonight, introducing your protagonist. I've already shown you some clips where we started doing that, but let's talk about why. You want to introduce your hero right away from the first shot, if possible, because readers and audiences, we inherently enter your story and we're uncertain about, because we don't know what to expect. So we start looking for a character to latch onto, basically a tour guide, someone who's going to help us focus and orient ourselves. Let's just say if people sign up for a tour and they meet at the designated starting point to find that nobody's there, or there's a group of people who are indistinguishable or they're too similar, then confusion and chaos will soon happen. Readers and audience members want to be led, so lead them. They're going to want to latch onto the first character they see. And if your protagonist doesn't come in until after a bunch of other people or other plot points are introduced, they're going to be wasting time investing interest in the wrong person. And it's going to feel jarring to them, and it'll probably make them feel really dissatisfied when they realize the story isn't about who they thought it was, and they'll start to blame you. They'll be mad at you. And on a practical level, the sooner you introduce your lead, the more time you have to build an emotional connection with the reader and viewer. Let's look at Lord of War. Lord of War, it was written and directed by Andrew Niccol. This is a brilliant opening sequence that takes us inside a world that I had never thought of before, never imagined. It's the world of bullets.
There are over 550 million firearms in worldwide circulation. That's one firearm for every 12 people on the planet. The only question is, how do we arm the other 11?
There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there.
So just stop very briefly. So yeah, great introduction so far. We've got Nicolas Cage in one of his best performances. And now we are about to go into we're going to see the world of the bullet. And
students with it.
And you are the bullet. Hang on, let's.
Can't hear it. Ken?
For the heat, 1,000 people in the street, singing songs and they carry inside, mostly saying hooray for our side. It's time we stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody, what's going down? Paranoia strikes deep into your life, it will creep. It starts when you're always afraid. Step out of line, the man come and take you away. We better stop, children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. There's battle lines being drawn. Nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their mind are getting so much resistance from behind. Time we stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
Genius. Yes. Apologies. I muted there.
If I've done my job right, an arms embargo should be practically impossible to enforce.
What? Okay, just slow the fuck down.
Sorry about that. So, did you hear Nicolas Cage's monologue, or was I muted? I apologize if I was. Okay, you did. So, Lord of War, written and directed by Andrew Niccol. He, the lead character, breaks the fourth wall again, just like Fleabag. Narrated by a cynical lead that explains his worldview succinctly, telling us who he is. And I love the use of audio in that monologue, because we hear chirping birds that are, just trying to do their best, optimistically go about their bird life in this godforsaken foreign hellscape that has just been burned out from explosions and war and battles. And in that opening sequence, we see the lifespan of a bullet from factory to ship to child soldier and child victim. It introduces the protagonist and his surprising and shocking opinions on guns and profit. And it takes us into a world that we've only heard about and shows us from start to finish the life of a bullet, and you are the bullet. A bullet POV is, I just think, a genius way. So, maybe there's some special world that your screenplay is going to take us into. And I would love that if you do. Some world that we may have heard others speak about, or we sensed was there, but we never really gave it much thought. And if you can find a way to show us a day in the life, or an hour, or frankly, just a few seconds, in like 30 seconds, if you can pour us into that world and really make us feel it in our bones, you'll have a powerful start to your film. Trainspotting. Many of you saw this last week, so I could show it to you again. It really is a genius start to your opening, but I realized that most of our guests tonight are back again. So let's just have a vote here. How many of you want me to play the opening from Trainspotting again? In the chat. All right, here we go then. I love it, and I think it's really instructive, particularly if you've got an ensemble cast and you really want to, it's a good example of how to introduce each character in order of importance. So let's start with the opening and how it just drops you in the middle of the action to Iggy Pop's Lust for Life. Iggy Pop, famously, when he recorded Lust for Life with David Bowie was basically helping Iggy Pop recover from his heroin addiction. So we've got a story about Edinburgh Scottish heroin addicts fleeing, running. The opening shot is them running from the cops, and it's all from this, the soundtrack is this propulsive Iggy Pop song. So I'll pause it from time to time to show you just how skillfully this opening is crafted. Right, so we're going to hear narration in a second. This opening shot, we've got two characters. They're probably best friends or partners in crime. They're running from store detectives or cops, and we start hearing the narration. In the foreground on your left, that's Renton, and Spud, his buddy, is running further behind. So they would not frame, and you wouldn't write it this way to have Spud in the foreground, because our narrator is number one. So he's the first person we should care about.
Life. Choose a job. Choose a career. Choose a family. Choose a fucking big television. Choose washing machines, cars, compact displays, and electrical tin openers.
And then this is the first of
having a video.
I beg your pardon?
A couple people don't have a video.
They don't have a video.
Yeah.
All right, I've got that's no good. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. Well, that's on me. Let's just back her up. Okay, so now I shared the screen. My apologies. I'll back her right up. Thanks for letting me know.
Life. Choose a job. Choose a career. Choose a family. Choose a fucking big television. Choose washing machines, cars, compact displays, and electrical tin openers.
All right, so this is the first freeze frame of all these friends. We're going to meet them all in a moment. He's our number one. He's our narrator. He's Renton. And what is he doing in this moment? He's narrating about how you should choose life and capitalism and big televisions and washers and dryers and all the normal boring things of society. He is doing the exact opposite of that. He's telling us what we should be doing, and instead he's high on drugs. He nearly kills himself running right into a car. He flips over the hood, magically survives. How does he respond? By starting to question his life's choices? Does he look serious and concerned? No, he's laughing in the face of death. That's who Renton is right now in this moment.
Choose good health, low cholesterol, and dental insurance. Choose fixed interest mortgage repayments. Choose a starter home.
Yeah, here he is in a rat bag junkie den. There's this starter home. Nice ironic juxtaposition of what he's saying he should be doing for himself and what he's actually doing to his body.
Choose your friends.
So there's his friends, a bunch of ragtag guys who can't even line up properly for a photo, and none of them are dressed the same.
Choose leisure wear and matching.
And they're their opponents. These are the straights, the normals, the regular people in society that they're up against and who they sneer at with their drug use.
Luggage. Choose a three-piece suite on hire purchase and a range of fucking fabrics. Choose DIY.
All right, so Sick Boy, he's getting the second freeze frame, so he's the second most important of these group of friends. He has just done a symbolic bit of business, as the script writes it. He has tripped someone and is complaining because the referee is giving him a penalty. He's denying he did anything, and this man is in denial that he even has a drug problem. That's what's going on here.
I'm wondering who the fuck you are on a Sunday morning. Choose sitting on that couch watching mine.
And then there's Begbie. He trips a guy. Does he deny it? Does he complain? No, he revels in it. And his addiction isn't drugs. His addiction is violence.
I mean, spirit-crushing game shows, stuffing fucking junk food into your mouth.
And there's Spud wearing his ironic Superman shirt. He's the nerd, the screw-up on the team. His friends all scream at him. And Spud does a little dance because you can't really be mad at Spud. He's too cute. He'll always screw up repeatedly. He'll always let you down. But you'll always be his mate.
Choose rotting away at the end of it.
So the girlfriends, very quick cut, no freeze frames, no name tags. no captions saying who they are. So that's the filmmakers letting us know these people will have some importance in the plot, but they're not the main focus.
Kissing your last in a miserable home, nothing more than an embarrassment to the selfish.
And then there's Tommy. Tommy's freeze frame shows him surrounded by society, the normal folks, screaming for his mates to come help him, and no one does. And as it turns out later in the story, spoiler, Tommy's the only one of this group that gets HIV and it gets sick and is dying, and none of his friends, other than Renton, who comes a bit late, comes to help save him.
Fucked up brats that you've spawned to replace yourselves. Choose your future. Choose life. But why would I want to do a thing like that? I chose not to choose life. I chose something else. And the reasons? There are no reasons. Who needs reasons when you've got heroin?
So that's a very powerful sales pitch for heroin. But let's just look at what this teaches us. It's a dark comedy crime drama. We get that right from the start. Written by John Hodge, based on a really loosely unrelated bunch of short stories by Irvin Welsh. So John Hodge did a really strong job at making this a unified story. So as I mentioned, Ewan McGregor is introduced first in the foreground. Each character is symbolic and introduced with a freeze frame that reveals their personality and their biggest flaw. And Renton, his opening monologue is spoken by a man who's consumed with something that's really outside of himself, something he can't control, but he rationalizes his decisions before ending his lecture by insisting anyone who's ever protested the use of heroin simply hasn't used it yet. So I think Keith Richards said the same thing too. And I'm still not convinced. I'm going to avoid heroin as long as I can, because as the story goes on and on, you'll see that, yeah, it gets darker and darker. So, writing assignment. In the next 4 minutes, it's 6:27 now. I want you to write down the perfect way to visually introduce your protagonist. What are they in the middle of doing? Like, put them in media res. What are they saying? How is it ironic or revelatory? Like, are they saying one thing, but they really don't believe it? Are they describing what they do, but their actions on screen show us the opposite? That makes for powerful storytelling and narration. If the narration is the exact opposite of what we're seeing on screen. So if you're considering narration, and why not? Most of my favorite films have narration. I'm not scared of it at all, but I love detective films, so I love a narrator. And really, honestly, when we read a book, isn't that narration from start to finish? I mean, is that so wrong? Anyway, take 4 minutes and tell me, how do you show us what your character's worldview is? Simply by looking at them. What are they doing? What are they interacting with? What's their secret or not so secret desire? What do they need and what's stopping them? Anyway, that's a lot. Think about how to visually introduce your protagonist. Drop them in the middle of some action. Go for it. just want to take this time to remind you to don't just stick with your first idea. The whole point of brainstorming is that you come up with so many ideas that inevitably the best ideas rise to the top. So come up with 10 ideas, 12 ideas, something you haven't thought of. All right, we're at 6:32, and I'd like to keep us on track tonight by giving you a break. Let's take a 5-minute break until 6:37, then we'll come back. And meantime, I will find you that great game night opening. So 6:37, we'll be back in 5. All right, welcome back. So I found the clip by paying for it. Wasn't that a brilliant solution? I paid for it twice. Apple TV didn't work, YouTube. So game night. Let me just show you the opening and I'll pause it here and there. Just watch for the first word you see. Words are very important in this film. All right, trivia, death, battle. What do we see in his forehead? Death. Jason Bateman, whatever his character's name, is our lead. He's our protagonist, so we meet him first. Very quickly, we meet Rachel McAdams, his love interest. Watch how they get together in this really entertaining opening sequence.
About winning. Let's get drunk. Let's do it. Get you drunk, Merkins, you two boards.
So it's bar trivia night. He's obviously hammered. He's not going to win, clearly.
Thirsty. Huh?
I need 4 shots of vodka, 4 shots of water. I want to send the vodka to the Merkins, send the water to us. You understand?
What former Supreme Court Justice...
Oliver Wendell Holmes.
Correct. Again, I'd like to ask the players to allow me...
To finish the question.
Very funny.
Okay, this is getting embarrassing. So we need to focus, because this isn't a game.
It literally is.
Bill, do not test me right now.
We're down to 2 teams. So for double points, what is the name of the purple Teletubby?
Tinky Winky.
You're both correct.
He always carried a
red purse. He loved
big hugs.
Now, we're not seeing the quarterfinals or the semifinals. We're not seeing other teams. We're seeing her team and his team. We get right into our 2 leads.
I know. I'm Max.
Annie.
So don't stop me now. Don't stop me, 'cause I'm having a good time, having a good time. Shooting star moving through the sky like a tiger flying.
All right, you're never going to be able to hold on to Asia, you hear me?
Hey, if you take Kamchatka and I take Mongolia, we can trap Linda in the middle.
Starve out our armies. Hey.
You can't form alliances.
Worked for Hitler, right?
You're high-fiving Hitler?
It's a comedy, so you better have people laughing early on. High-fiving Hitler, that does the job. Very fast pace here that I'm slowing down by talking, but this is a really great montage to show the progression of their love affair, which quickly speeds them ahead towards when they're married.
All right, you got this last one. That's Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn.
Feel good.
2 words. Bill. Overweight.
No.
Single. Out of work.
What the fuck?
Harry. Carrie. Mary. You. Me. Marry me.
Annie? Will you? Will you marry me?
Yeah.
Is that a yes? That's a yes? I'm really happy for you guys.
Of course, since games are their lives, they live for game nights. Of course that he has to propose in a game. And in almost the very next shot, well, yeah, that's this next shot, they're in a doctor's office trying to figure out why they can't get pregnant. And turns out that Jason Bateman's character is impotent because he is so worried about his older brother coming to visit, which is the inciting incident that triggers a very, very deadly plot coming up that includes a lot of games. So what this teaches us and can be instructive for your script. Introduce your main characters in a fast-paced montage. Consider it. Show where your leads play, what they're obsessed about, their meet cute first meeting, and their passion, alliance, and love in a connected series of shots. Not a bunch of random shots, but a carefully thought out and brainstormed shots that just keep propelling us forward, propelling their relationship forward. And they're always game playing, even pretends he's drunk to get an advantage. And then, yeah, as I mentioned, they end up in the doctor's office, but it's a really fun it's a fun start to what should be a series of games. All right. On to chapter 3, genre and tone. As I mentioned in my workshop last week, Scorsese famously says, if you want to be a great storyteller, you must master your genre. So read everything in your movie genre or your TV show's genre, even the not so great ones. Don't be a snob. Don't tell yourself you're only going to read the great works of literature. Frankly, that can be a bit intimidating. Find the movies and TV shows that are almost perfect. And maybe they've got a great opening and then they lose the plot later on, but maybe they've got a great ending or something great about them. They can actually be really instructive to see, oh, how would I have made this even better? And they may give you ideas that will jar loose a perfect solution for your opening scenes. And I mean, read everything. If you haven't read the screenplays to your favorite movies that you reference when you're talking about your own script, why not? Read this, get the scripts. There, I'll include a link to a website where you can find just about every script that's ever been written. I'll include that in the chat window at the end. Get the scripts and compare them with the show. So rewatch, let's just say you love watching Heat by Michael Mann. Get that script and find out how he crafted those opening scenes and see what survived. See what survived the cut or what got cut because it was perhaps too chatty or long-winded. And that last draft of screenwriting, of course, is directing. And so it can be really informative to see what makes a strong opening and what had to be cut to make the film that we all love now. And another thing about consuming everything in your genre is that it teaches you what the cliches are and what the tropes are, what the expectations are when we watch that genre. By genre, it could mean, like, let's just say you love horror films, you're writing in horror. Well, you damn well better have a top 10 list of your favorite horror films and study those scripts. And once you know the cliches, then you can add twists on those cliches and make those twists a special new plot point that will propel your story into something really special. 2 examples of genre twists. So if you like heist films as much as I do, Spike Lee's Inside Man is a heist film with a twist that instead of fleeing the bank after robbing it, because that's always the big concern, how do we get away with the money without getting shot or arrested? Well, the thief in Inside Man hides inside the bank and he walks out a week later. And he tells you that in the opening narration too. But we forget about that too, which is really smart. So you can actually bury some fun little plot twists in your opening scene. The Dark Knight, thieves steal from a mafia-owned bank, which is incredibly stupid and dangerous. It's a cool twist. But it also reveals just how ballsy and confident and ambitious the Joker is. The fact that he's going to take on the other crime bosses. And another twist, the criminals hide their tracks by killing each other off so they get a bigger pot of money at the end. If you want to write a private detective mystery, well, you damn well better study the books of Sue Grafton, Sarah Paretsky, Raymond Chandler, Dennis Lehane, John D. MacDonald, films like Chinatown, Big Sleep, Devil in a Blue Dress, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and The Big Lebowski, which The Big Lebowski, by the way, is based on the books of Chandler and Dashiell Hammett and Kane. I showed you Bird Box last week, but I think some of you weren't there, so I'd like to show it again. It's pretty short. This is a post-apocalyptic horror film. If you're considering that, this genre is fun. So let's get to that one here.
We have a place, a compound. We have a community. It's safe here. How many of you are there? Are any of them children? because the fastest way to get here is by the river, and I don't think you could make it with kids.
So yeah, here we're dropped into a world. We're hearing a mysterious sort of walkie-talkie or shortwave radio voice. We don't know who that is, but it's warning our lead character, do not come up this river, do not bring children. And of course, what are we about to see? We're about to see our lead character, played by Sandra Bullock, about to bring children on this dangerous river. So dropping us into the suspense right away. And it's a bit disorienting to be dropped into the middle of the action, and that's okay, because we are leaning forward, trying to figure out what happens next.
Listen to me. I'm only going to say this once. We are going on the trip now. It's going to be rough. It's going to feel like it's going on for a long time. So it's going to be hard to stay alert. It's going to be even harder to be quiet, but you have to do both. You have to do every single thing I say, or we will not make it. Understand? Under no circumstance are you allowed to take off your blindfold. If I find that you have, I will hurt you. Do you understand? It's cold. We have blankets. Boy, you have your dog. Girl, you have your kitty. This is just a place. There's nothing more that we need from it. Do you understand? And no talking on the river. You must listen as closely as you can. If you hear something in the woods, you tell me. If you hear something in the water, you tell me. But you never, ever take off your blindfold. If you look, you will die. Do you understand?
She's doing a great job of setting up the rules of this genre, this post-apocalyptic science fiction horror. If your world has rules that need to be explained, get to them early.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, well, I think that's enough for now. So the rules of the genre: don't bring kids down the river, cut to Mallory about to do that, and scary high stakes in the opening dialogue where Mallory refers to the kids as boy and girl to distance herself from caring about them. She knows their names, but refuses to name them. And I think it was quite shocking. You know, a woman is supposed to care about children, as we find out later, and she threatens to hurt them unless they follow the rules of the genre film. Oh, by the way, Bird Box is based on a book. You may not know. It's based on a Josh Malerman novel, and he's got Netflix plans for Bird Box 2. Yeah, that should be coming out soon. We'll see. We'll see how the pandemic filming goes. So here's a film nobody, I'm sure, has seen. I'm dropping this on you fresh. Tarantino's Kill Bill. Let's get into it. Let's just see how Tarantino, who famously says, you want to get into the story in the middle of a scene. You want to start as late as possible in a scene. So that's what he does here in Kill Bill. I don't know if you remember how it opens. Bit of a warning. It's bloody and disturbing. So you look at this, you ask yourself, like, forget about the opening credits. Like, that's Tarantino sort of setting the stage to make it feel like it's those 70s grindhouse films that he loved, those B films he saw all the time growing up in LA. But when you see this shot of looks like a bride on her wedding day, which should be the happiest day of her life, and she's in pain, she's bleeding, possibly dying, and someone foreboding is coming towards her. And we start in an extreme close-up. And remember this shot for later tonight, because I want to show you the final shot in Kill Bill and see how it matches. But watch how Tarantino establishes the stakes of this revenge thriller. He's already said there's revenge in the quote just before this, so we know it's a revenge thriller.
Do you find me sadistic? That I could egg on your head right now if I wanted to. No, kiddo. I'd like to believe you're aware enough, even now, to know that there's nothing sadistic in my actions. Maybe towards those other jokers, but not you. No, kiddo. At this moment, this is me. Most masochistic.
Bill, it's your baby.
Wow. Yeah. Powerful. Shoots her in the head, and it's almost like he knew what she was going to say and shot her anyway, or shot her because of that. So that's, again, it's in medias res, right in the middle of the action. And we've got this opening close-up of the bride lays dying and bloody in her wedding gown. It's a vicious tone, and it's a powerful opening that sets up this epic two-film revenge story. And it's a harsh action thriller in black and white. And spoiler if you haven't seen it, the final shot in Kill Bill Volume 2 ends in a very happy full color shot. And the same character is in a much different emotional space. Yes, she survived. I won't tell you what you see in that shot. You can see it later tonight. I'm going to show you a little clip. Really, really powerful way to start a revenge thriller. Start in the middle of some painful. Your protagonist is in a very, very tough spot. It's a cliffhanger, if you will. Get Out, another genre film. Let's get back to screen sharing here. Jordan Peele's brilliant horror film Get Out is a real demonstration of how he just knows the horror genre so well. Okay. Watch how he flips the expectations of this genre. Normally we expect to see, we think of a horror film, we see pretty young people who are alone and they're scared in the dark or at a cabin. Watch how Jordan Peele flips it.
Half a mile away from Edgewood Lane. Huh? Crazy. You got me out here in this creepy, confusing ass suburb. Oh, so serious though. Like a sore thumb out here.
Yeah, and Jordan Peele talks about what the real horror in this film, if you have seen it, Peele says it's liberal suburbia is the horror landscape that he wanted to explore and take down in this film. And yeah, here's a young black man scared to be out, flips the expectations, because so often on films, young black men are made to be the thugs and the bad guys.
All right, baby. All right, I'll talk to you soon. See you. Okay, so this is Ryan. Fucking hedge maze out here.
Like a hedge mage out here. Hedge maze. reference to like The Shining or any place that's going to lure you in. You can't get out. You are trapped like a mouse in a maze.
I think we should have left on, what was that? Peacock.
You'll note this is all in one take, one shot. You wouldn't necessarily write that in the script. I mean, he's a writer-director, so that's really the director's job to choose what the shot is going to be. But it's pretty powerful and suspenseful and creepy to do it this way. Like, it's like, we are him, we are there.
Left.
And the music choice, we can barely hear it, but the song is saying, run, rabbit, rabbit are traditionally the prey of the hunted. And he's almost warning this guy to run or else you're going to become prey.
Okay. I just keep on walking, bro. Don't do nothing stupid. Just keep on. Fuck this. I'm fucking go the other way. I can't. Not today. Not me. You know how they like to do motherfuckers out here, man. I'm gone.
Oh, that can't be good.
Yo! Yo! Hey!
Don't give the farmer this fun. He'll get by without his rugged farm. So run, rabbit, run.
All right, great start. And it's only later on that it finally occurred to me. I think actually watching it the second time when I realized that the young black man, he shows up later in the story, and he's clean shaven. He's a completely different person, almost as if he's been taken over. And that's the thing. The surprise plot twist is that wealthy white people in the suburbs are kidnapping young black men and young black women and taking over their bodies and their minds so that they can live forever. Awesome stuff. All right. Let's go on to, let's take 4 minutes. Now 7 o'clock. Let's take 4 minutes and let's write down the perfect way to introduce your genre. And when I say perfect, I mean, hey, no pressure. Let's just have you brainstorm for some minutes here. How will you show us that you know your genre? So don't tell us in the action lines of the first few lines of your script that you're about to watch a heist film. Well, that might be an interesting way, but you want to show us, you want to demonstrate that you know your genre. So what locations and props and wardrobe and lighting establishes your genre? Say you're doing, well, let's think of, let's just say you want to do a big chill romantic comedy, a dramedy, if you will, about a bunch of baby boomers, say, that want to pitch in together and start a modern commune on a ranch. So in that genre, what other films are there? There's the big chill when a number of characters come together, but I want you to think of 10 films in your genre and see if you can find connections just in bullet point that the same sorts of things and plot points and style appears in each of those films. So, and I don't want you to just mimic your genre in your script. I want you to show me how you're going to add to it. So think about your genre again and tell me, how will you show us that you know your genre? How are you going to demonstrate the type of story, the type of film you're going to write? Go for it. All right, welcome back. So chapter 4 of how to write a killer opening for your movie or TV series. Immediate conflict, or at least conflict as soon as you can. Like right away, like get your characters arguing or in trouble. I can't stress how important this is. Can't stress it enough. Conflict is the building block of every scene, regardless of genre. If you have zero conflict in a scene, it shouldn't be in your script, because lack of conflict bores people. If you've got characters all agreeing with each other in a happy, shiny place, then you're going to lose your audience fast. Drama is about conflict, and every scene of every script or film must answer 3 questions, according to David Mamet, who knows something about drama and conflict. Number 1, who wants what and from whom? And what happens if he or she does not get that thing that they want? And 3, why now? What's the urgency? So who wants what? So every scene you write, who wants what and from whom? What happens if he or she doesn't get it? And why now? Apply that to every scene you write, and especially to your opening scene. So Breaking Bad. Series written and often directed by Vince Gilligan. Let me show you the brilliant way they open that scene, or that series. This is from the pilot. So what I'm about to show you is right after, the clip I found, it actually has a slightly longer shot of these dull suburban chino pants. These are the type of pants worn by your chemistry teacher, and they're just soaring through the blue sky above the New Mexico desert. And watch how quickly Vince Gilligan gets you into the action. And those pants, by the way, those falling pants represent Walter White and where he is right now. So yeah, he's hearing sirens, and obviously he's not happy about it. You would think if you crashed your Winnebago, you'd be grateful for the cops or whoever to come and save you. He is clearly up to no good, because he is now going to try and hide from them or something. But he's clearly not pleased.
My name is Walter Hartwell White. I live at 308 Negra Arroyo Lane, Albuquerque, New Mexico, 87104. To all law enforcement entities, this is not an admission of guilt. I am speaking to my family now. Skylar, you are the love of my life. I hope you know that. Walter Jr., you're my big man. There are There are going to be some things that you'll come to learn about me in the next few days. I just want you to know that no matter how it may look, I only had you in my heart.
Yeah, lays down his ID. He's recorded his goodbye message to his wife and son. He implies that everything he's done, whatever he's doing here, whatever illegal things he's doing it for his son. And he's clearly stressed by the police coming. This is a man who's desperate, getting his affairs in order. And we don't see him waking up, turning off his alarm clock, or teaching chemistry. They drop us right in the action. And now watch. And I don't have the rest of the next portion of the clip, but what happens is it turns out those aren't police cars at all. They're fire trucks, and they don't care about, they just roar right past him. They don't care. He hides the gun. And so his fear was for nothing. The symbolic image, that first movement we see on screen, is a pair of khaki pants falling from the sky, a wonderful metaphor for the plunge that this vanilla suburbanite is about to take over the next several years. And you may remember, if you've seen the show, every season started with a really stellar cold opening. Cold opening, we mean we just drop people right into the action. And we start out like a close-up on a teddy bear. But this pilot's opening is still the most memorable. Plowing through the desert in his Winnebago, dead bodies in tow, probably due to some drug overdoses. Maybe they've been shot. Heartfelt confessional to his family. And the last image of him of the sequence on the open dirt road, clad in his tighty-whitey underwear, aiming a gun, perfection. Now there's two clips I want to show you for Lady Bird. Lady Bird is the debut of writer-director Greta Gerwig. And check out how she opens her first film. It opens with a quote, just like the Tarantino film. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the first clip, and then I'm going to cut to the same the same scene continuing, but this time you're going to get to see the script at the bottom of the screen, so you can see how she wrote the characters to interrupt each other, to give us that uncomfortable tension between mother and daughter. So first shot, we hear birds chirping, it's morning. We see a mother and daughter. They clearly love each other. They're very intimate, sleeping in the same bed. It's sort of the calm before the storm.
Do you think I look like I'm from Sacramento?
You are from Sacramento.
You don't have to do that.
Well, it's nice to make things neat and clean.
So that's not random dialogue. That's a choice bit of character revelation. The mother likes things neat and clean. The daughter really wishes she wouldn't and would stop controlling every portion of her life.
You ready to go home?
Ready.
Her hand moved behind his head and supported it. Her fingers moved gently in his hair. She looked up and across the barn, and her lips came together and smiled mysteriously.
You've been listening to The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. If you
College trip took 21 hours and 5 minutes.
But let's just sit with what we heard.
Are you serious?
Well, we don't have to constantly be entertaining ourselves, do we?
Oh yeah, there's mom controlling her, listening to a very cheerful production of The Grapes of Wrath, very depressing Depression era drama. So now let's see how the rest of the scene plays out and how quickly they get into these two characters arguing. So the script's at the bottom. It's fun to watch how Greta Gerwig has them interrupting each other.
I wish I could live through something. Aren't you? Nope. The only exciting thing about 2002 is that it's a palindrome.
Okay, fine. Well, yours is the worst life of all, so you win.
Oh, so now you're mad?
No, it's
because
just you're
I
being
wanted to
ridiculous
listen to
because you
music.
have a great life.
I'm sorry, I'm not perfect.
No one's asking you to be perfect. Just consider it would do.
I don't even want to go to school in this state anyway. I hate California. I want to go to the East Coast.
Your dad and I will barely be able to afford in-state tuition.
There are loans,
Your brother, your very
scholarships.
smart brother, he can't even find a job.
He and Shelley work. They have
They
jobs.
bag at the grocery store. That is not a career, and they went to Berkeley. Your father's company is laying off people right and left. Did you even know that? No, of course you don't, because you don't think about anybody but yourself. An immaculate heart is already a luxury.
Immaculate heart? You wanted that, not me.
Miguel saw someone knifed in front of him at Sac High. Is that what you want? So you're telling me that you want to see somebody knifed right in front of you?
Barely
Right in
saw
front of-
that. I want to go where culture is, like
How
New
in the world
York,
did I raise such a
or at least
snob?
Connecticut or New Hampshire, where writers live in the
Get into
woods.
those schools anyway.
Mom,
You can't even pass your driver's test.
because you wouldn't let me practice
The way
enough.
that you work, or the way that you don't work, you're not even worth state tuition, Christine.
My name is Ladybird.
Well, actually, it's not, and it's ridiculous.
Call me
because your name
Ladybird
is
like you
Christine.
said you would.
You should just go to City College. You know, with your work ethic, just go to City College and then to jail and then back to City College, and then maybe you'd learn to pull yourself up and not expect everybody to do everything.
Through my online store alone,
Whoa.
we've sold over $500,000 worth of spices. That's so crazy.
Sorry,
I went
that's
from selling to my town to selling nationwide in 1
not
week.
part of the film. Oh, good. And I've closed every one of my windows. So Greta Gerwig, I'm going to have her describe the opening. So the first shot, her mother lying in bed together. It's a moment of tranquility and togetherness. And she wanted to start there because she knew that what she was about to put the characters through. So just give them a moment of peace. And we decided to have this very warm sunlight lighting for that shot. And the shot directly after it's the hotel room. It was these beautiful yellow curtains that were transparent. It had this particular look that almost felt as if they were actors waiting to go on stage. They were about to start arguing with each other. Yeah, really great job of very swiftly, in just a couple of shots, introducing Lady Bird and her emotionally abusive mother, who says some very, very cruel things. Writing assignment. So for the next 4 minutes, let's say the next 5 minutes, I want you to write down the central conflict of your film, the conflict that will take off by Act 2. And how are you going to introduce that conflict in your opening scenes? How are you going to tease at it? You don't have to like heavy-handedly start on the main conflict, but how will you show us the chaos and danger? How will you foreshadow the high stakes that lay ahead for your protagonist? And how will you make that conflict inventive and unique? And can you do it in the first few seconds visually? What can you hint at? Can you have a character like in The Big Lebowski? Can you see, is someone watching a TV broadcast that maybe is on the side of our shot? We don't pay a ton of attention to it right away, but you're setting it up for later. Because you don't want to bury your conflict so deep that it just suddenly appears out of nowhere. See if you can hint at it and come up with multiple ways of hinting at it in the next few minutes. Go for it. I'm thinking more about the central conflict of your film. Just like with your protagonist, is there a visual symbol of that conflict? Like think of the tumbling tumbleweed, that's the Big Lebowski. Is there something similar for the conflict, that some visual that represents the conflict that's about to come, that teases at it? What could it be? What item, what thing, even if it's a newspaper headline or a blog post or something that we just see in passing, but what item represents the dark future ahead? Okay, so I want to show you my last clip tonight, and I think you're going to quite like it because it's not just one clip, it's about 55. So let's share screens. Like, how am I going to show you 55 clips? Well, let's this is a really interesting supercut. This editor has put together the opening shot and the closing shot that bookends films. And he's done like 3 of these supercuts now. This is the first one. And it's really, really striking to notice how similar the opening shot and the closing shot is. So that what you see on your screen right there, that of course is Castaway. So that's no lie. If you don't remember the opening, that the shot is of a road that looks just like this, kind of barren. And our lead character is not in it. And in the final shot, he's at a crossroads. He's got a choice to make about which direction he's going to go with his life now that he's back from being marooned on that island. So we're watching the supercut, how some shots are almost exactly the same in how they're framed and how they were written. And some opening and closing shots are almost the exact opposite. What we see at the end is the exact opposite of what we saw at the beginning, or they're like a funhouse mirror version, and all to demonstrate how much the character has grown and changed in the last 2 hours or 90 minutes of the story. So check this out. It's on Vimeo and it's called First and Final Frames. Here we go. I'll send you the link afterwards so you can see the names of all these films. Kill Bill. Isn't that powerful? And I think he's gone. Oh boy. I think the biggest lesson to learn from that is don't start writing your film until you know how it's going to end. So outline the hell out of your story and think of how you can end your film in a powerful, ironic, opposite way. Basically bookend your story with shots and scenes, like a beginning scene and end scene that comment on each other somehow, reflect each other. They either start super happy and end super unhappy, or vice versa. Find a way to connect them and your story will be vaulted to the top of the pile of stories. It's a level of craft that not everyone gets to. So that's 4 parts of how to write a killer opening scene. And I like to open the floor for, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes. If you wanted to, we could do a Q&A and we could bounce ideas back and forth if you've got a question about a film that you love or a script you're working on. So feel free to fire away, or else if you'd rather do it by email later, that's no problem. Let me.
Ken, I got a question for you. It's George here.
Hi, George.
Hi, how are you?
Good, man.
Good. So, you know my story, Boomerangs. We had the helicopter thing, or the bird's eye view coming in at the beginning. And so when I end the show, it's going to be in the valley. It's like paradise, right? And I'm just wondering, do I lead out and then say as the credits roll, or how do you do that at the end? You know, like, am I meant to work in where those visuals are going as the credits roll at the end, or how much detail do I need for that?
I think most scripts, one thing I'm going to do just right now, because I did promise, in case anyone jumps off, I'll get to that in a moment. Drew Scriptorama. So this is to everyone. That link there is where you can find pretty much every script ever written. You can Google for others. There are others, of course, that exist, but this one has been around for ages. It's such a basic website. It's nothing fancy. They just have all the great scripts. And the clip, this supercut I just showed you, first and final frames. I'll include that link here right now. Yeah, and that, again, that's part one. There are two other parts that are just as powerful with even more great films. Okay, sorry, George. So your end shot, you're wondering how to write the final visual?
Yeah, you know, should I say as the credits roll, or I mean, I like, you know, I love the idea about the bookending.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking, do you include that kind of detail, or just end with a description and then let when it gets into the further stages, that let them do that?
It's really up to you where you want to cut the cord of your story. You have this awesome godlike power of deciding, you know, where you cut that line of the story. I can give you an example. In my first film that I'm directing right now, just finishing up. So we shot. The way I wrote it that there would be, the film would end, and my main character gets what he's always wanted. He gets to be the star of his own new reality show. We see him waking up. Let me see if I get this right, the way I did it. Yeah, we show him waking up in the hospital, and he survives, you know, spoiler, he survives the gunshots, and there's a TV in there, and the TV producer says, "Hey, congratulations, you're my breakout star. In 10 minutes, those hospital doors are going to swing wide right open. Here are your next challenges. You are now the star of your brand new reality show." And even though he's in pain and, you know, bleeding, a smile crosses his face, and I wrote that he gets out of bed, realizes he's not even in a hospital. It's just like fake hangar for TV. And there's an armed guard telling him, you know, go through that door. And so he goes running in his hospital gown. So this is still part of the film. He's running in his hospital gown, and he goes running outside the door and leaps out almost like Bugs Bunny. And he's excited to be free. And then I'm going to cut. Basically, that's the end of the film, right? You know, he smiles. He's now reality show famous. The lead actress, sort of lead character, she's watching him at home with her mother, and so she's in a happier place now. And she's just laughing at this idiot. He runs outside of this makeshift hospital, and then we freeze frame as he leaps to freedom, and it writes something like that, and then it writes the end. Okay, so the script. The story ends, we see the end, and then I write roll credits, and then I write post credits, colon, and then I have a little coda scene at the end. So I end the film, fade to black, and then roll. Yeah. So it's the end, fade to black, roll credits, post credits, and then I have that little coda at the end. But I have a brand new scene that comes. It's not visuals. It's a scene of him running through a graveyard being chased by armed guards, and people are watching at home, and they've got remote control. So it is an actual scene. It's not visuals that are meant to go over the credits. So you could, if you don't have a scene but you have some really powerful visuals, I would just suggest that you wrap up your story by putting it right in your last few lines before you write the end.
Okay.
And then, it could even be something as simple as, better written than this, but, and we pull back up and away to reveal paradise. The people have found paradise in their own lifetime, or something like that. Something that makes us feel we're soaring through the air over this glorious property.
Yeah, because they've managed to preserve it from this threat, right? So.
Yeah, so I don't think you have to be really detailed. That's the director's job, to start adding in those precise visuals. But if there's like I would just say, we think about the ending of the Shawshank Redemption, right? That's a helicopter shot pulling something similar. It's paradise that they've been talking about on this Mexican beach, and the camera pulls back up and away into the sky, which is very common, right? In really great movies, the camera pulls up and away, floating back to become, into the ether of storytelling. That's how we know that the film is over, and that godlike camera is going to float over and go start filming another story somewhere else. Its work here is done. So maybe have a look at the Shawshank Redemption to see how they wrap up.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll look at the script too. Yeah. Good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. So Dean, if I'm pronouncing your name right, you ask, how much detail is the scriptwriter providing on scenes? How much is the director's discretion? How much is expected from the script? The screenwriter is there to deliver very economically the bones of the story, all the dialogue, very, very economical, efficient action lines. You're not writing pages to describe something. You're not describing shots. That's the director's job. But you can guide the reader's eyes and guide the director, because we're all directors when we read a script, right? We're all directing it in our heads. So you can guide our eyes with how you describe something. So every now and then you can mention extreme close-up of something. If it's really important, like in a Hitchcock film, he'll do an extreme close-up of some item, some MacGuffin that's going to be really important later on, some item that's going to be stolen, or an extreme close-up of a bomb that's under a desk that no one can see, and the bomb is about to go off because we see it ticking and ticking and ticking. Well, that, I think you should call the shot there. You guide our eyes into an enclosed suspenseful space, and then cut back in your script, cut back to the crowd unaware. It's rush hour in New York and they have no idea there's a bomb there. So just a couple of lines, you can guide our eyes, but you're not going to do that all the way through the story. What else? What else may have occurred to you tonight as you're watching some of these great clips? Well,
here's another question. So,
yeah.
What if you wanted to start out in a very, quiet way? Because you're talking like major conflict, but what if your film, the tone of your film is completely different than that, right?
Sure.
I mean, can that work? Can you think of examples of that?
Starting very quiet. Well, Lady Bird, that started very quietly.
Right.
It's just a very intimate, quiet little moment, just a little breather.
Right.
I think if you watch that supercut, I mean, there's quite a number of films that start very quietly in the first shot or two, and then remember filmmaking. I tell my mom this all the time. I'm here staying with my mom while I'm doing the residency. This is my childhood home. I don't live with my mom normally, but she doesn't like the TV to go too loud, and my girlfriend's the same. And maybe I'm going deaf, I don't know, but I like, and inevitably they complain, and reasonably so. It's loud. I want a film to feel like I'm in a theater, but inevitably they're complaining about a scene, and if I just have to quickly tell them it's going to be quiet in the next scene. It always is. That's the power of filmmaking. That's good storytelling. If you have it's like Nirvana and the Pixies. They got they had a formula for their songs. It was quiet, quiet, loud, loud, quiet, quiet, loud, loud. It's you want to be juxtaposing quiet and loud, quiet and loud. I took a class with a filmmaker who was showing bad directing and editing choices in a film. He says, and he showed me this scene where a car is overheating, the engine is overheating, and the camera is focusing on the steam, and then now there's this matching, the very next shot is the steam of a kettle. So they're almost exactly the same shot and almost exactly the same volume. And he says, that's a terrible cut. You want to show the exact opposite in your next shot. And when I say shot, I mean the scene you write. So at some point when you've got a strong script together, or you're starting to write, either you're starting to write the strong script or you're rewriting the script, have a look at how each scene ends. And if it ends on what should feel like, let's just say it ends on what should feel like a medium shot. If the next scene starts with a medium shot, that's not strong enough. That's boring storytelling. So think about how each shot connects to the next shot, how each scene ends in a way that's different from the start of the next scene. And good storytelling gives you the range. Good storytelling gives you a range of sounds. And so, if you want to start something quiet, great, but get loud soon. And you don't have to stay there, but if you just have soft and quiet all the way through, that's not natural storytelling. Thinking about, Colin, you were talking about the good-natured, all creatures, great and small kind of story that you're telling. And I think you'll find that there's going to be some chaos and really loud, noisy scenes that you might want to put in early, because it's not always going to be gentle when you're taking care of animals in 1973. There's going to be animals in distress, and you want to establish a tone that fits the genre. But all your favorite stories have a range, and you want to paint that range in your first 5 pages, so that you want to give people it's just satisfying to have that range. Dean, your question is, what's a page range or scene count for feature-length film? Scene count, about 40 scenes. Page range, well, it really depends on your genre. So, for example, my genre, it's a comedy. All my favorite comedies, my editor delivered a rough cut that's 82 minutes. Like, it's tight, it's short. I think to get into a film festival as a feature film, your film has to be at least 70 something pages long, or 70 something minute, like a page a minute. So mine's 82, which feels tight, and it is. It is a race against time. Young Emily's got to save her mom's life in 3 hours or else during a pandemic while being chased by snipers. There's a lot of pace to it, but it still felt incomplete to me, and because we were cutting out scenes that I've written, we've shot, that are good, but he just wanted to keep things moving. So I looked at comedy films. All my favorite comedies are between 90 and 99 pages long, not including The Big Lebowski. It's a bit longer, but think about Step Brothers. I think Game Night's very short. We don't want to overstay our welcome in comedies. We allow more, and same with horror films too. Horror films are often the best ones. They're tight. They're under 100 pages. Dramas, we allow more time for drama, so that can get up to 100, and I think 120 pages would be the maximum, unless you're a Christopher Nolan writing an epic war film, and then you can do whatever you want, because and same with Scorsese, and they've got hundreds of millions of dollars, and they'll make a 3-hour film where De Niro gets de-aged. It took me like 4 times to get through that movie, 4 attempts and stops and restarts before I got to really enjoy it. So anyway, I would aim for page a minute 40 scenes, 3 acts, and just always have rising action and conflict, and see if you can get the whole thing wrapped up before people get bored. Any other questions or thoughts that occurred to you about your own script openings? If there's some problem you want to solve, I'm here for you. We can maybe brainstorm it together. Well, sounds like you're probably full up with entertainment tonight. I urge you, do check out those super cuts. They're really, really, I think, just very powerfully edited. And I'd heard about the bookending technique, and I've never seen it so powerfully illustrated so quickly. So yeah, if nothing else tonight, know your ending before you start writing the opening, even if it's a TV series. And thank you all so much for coming. And yeah, I'm glad you love movies as much as I do, and TV shows. It's fun to rip them apart and see how they work. So have a great night, and you'll see you again. And by the way, if you haven't yet, feel free to sign up for one-on-one script consultations. And if you have and you want to come back later,